1970s and 1980s. This broadcast came to you from the General Overseas Service of All India Radio. Now is the time for the news. Please stand by.
This is All India Radio. The news read by Prashant Kumar Sinha. The headlines. Foreign Secretary and National Security Advisor.
Welcome to this live tuning of the shortwave bands. We are May the 1st. It's 2200 hours UTC as you see on the clock here. This clock is accurate to the second, so it gives you an idea of if it's live or not. People ask this question very often. And so 2200 hours UTC time. So this universal time. So this is All India Radio 11670. Good signal tonight. All India Radio.
Council went into close consultations on the crisis in Yemen, where fuel shortages are threatening relief operations. India has assured Nepal that it stands steadfastly with the quake-hit country and will provide all possible assistance. National Security Advisor Ajit Doval and Foreign Secretary S. Jaishankar yesterday reached Kathmandu and called on Prime Minister Sushil Koirala to discuss the rescue and relief operations in the areas affected by the earthquake. Doval also took an aerial survey of the worst affected Gorkha district. They also visited the several relief and rescue sites conducted by the different Indian agencies, including NDRF and Indian Air Force. Earlier addressing a joint meeting of all the Indian agencies engaged in the operation, they directed them to carry on relief and rescue operations in full swing. They said rescue operations in remote areas should also be given priority, and relief materials should reach the victims in time. In Nepal, schools and other educational institutions in quake-devastated areas of 11 districts, including the worst-hit Gorkha region, will remain shut till May 14th. Education Ministry spokesperson Hari Lamsal said in Kathmandu that classes from pre-primary to higher secondary levels will be closed in the districts as the infrastructure needs technical assessment. The closure will be effective in Kathmandu, Lalitpur, Bhaktapur, Makwanpur, Nuwakota, Dading, Sindhupal Chowk, Kavade, Gorkha, Lamjung, and Dolakha districts. The educational institutions were earlier shut for 5 days following Saturday's massive earthquake. 1,000 European Union citizens in Nepal are still unaccounted for nearly a week after a massive quake that hit during the peak trekking season. The EU ambassador to Nepal, Denshe Tirin.
This is the last 30 minutes of All India Radio, by the way. They have an extensive English at this time schedule. It's like at least an hour and a half of English that ends at 22:30. It's for Europe on 9445 and 11670. 11670 is very good at this time of year.
The meeting of infrastructure ministries, including road transport and shipping, civil aviation, power, new and renewable energy today to take stock of projects and to chart out future course of action. Official sources said in New Delhi yesterday that the meeting to be chaired by the Prime Minister would be attended by ministers and secretaries of various ministries related to infrastructure and to discuss the way forward. Prime Minister is likely to take stock of the infrastructure development activity and discuss ways and means to provide a fillip to the sector to push economic growth. Infrastructure is a thrust area of this government and high on the agenda of the Prime Minister. The Finance Minister in the budget speech had announced Finance Minister Arun Jaitley's reform agenda has strengthened the investor sentiment towards India, resulting in greater money coming into the country. In an exclusive interview to DD News, Mr. Jaitley said that significant work is being done in the infrastructure and agriculture sectors, and the government is making special efforts to tackle the farmers' issues, particularly irrigation. Mr. Jaitley, who also heads the Information and Broadcasting Ministry, said, giving biased news and programs.
Hello, Ray. Welcome from Nova Scotia. And welcome to the Hangout. By the way, I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. A lot of people ask me that question because I don't say it often, so people watch and say, where are you from? In case you didn't know. So, hey, Ray. And wow, cool. Nice to see that you've ordered a Texan PL 680. I can't wait to get mine. Really am anxious to test out that receiver, and I've read a lot of good things about it, so I think should be a great receiver. So let me know when you receive it, what you think of it, and welcome to the Hangout, my friend. What are you using as a receiver right now, Ray?
But most of Taliban casualty coming from Kunduz battle. Kunduz governor's media office said in a statement yesterday that in Kunduz alone, 190 Taliban militants were killed and more than 125 others wounded. Over 30 security forces personnel also.
Voice of Turkey should be on right now on 98.30 for some reason. For some reason, it's not there. It happens. I've seen the Voice of Turkey sometimes a little late. We'll check in 5 or 10 minutes. But usually they should be on 98.30 to North America right now. So we'll check it out in 5 or 10 minutes. Let's see if I can hear Romania, which is for Western Europe, not coming in 74.30. So signals are not propagating there. Still a little early here.
Came as international experts, including London-based human rights lawyer Amal Clooney, petitioned the world body over the controversial jailing of Mohammed Nasheed for 13 years.
You know, things happen sometimes. I had a little time in the 90s where I was not listening a lot, and we were about, you know, I was about to move to another apartment and had a lot of stuff, and I sold a few receivers that I really wish I should not have sold. I had a realistic DX302 that I sold for I think it was $70. I had a Panasonic portable in RF 2800. I had a Panasonic RF B300, and all of those disappeared. And you know, today I would love to have them in my collection of receivers.
Killing a total of 7 people and wounding 18 others. The UN Security Council yesterday went into closed-door consultations at Russia's request on the crisis in Yemen, where fuel shortages are threatening relief operations.
I had a Grundy Yacht Boy 400 in the late 90s. It's a nice radio, and the Yacht Boy 400 I sold to my uncle. I had an uncle that worked in electronics, would repair radios, TVs, and stuff like that. You earned a living from that. And one day he was at home, and he looked at my Yacht Boy 400 and found that it was nice. And so I finally sold him that Yacht Boy 400. That's also a receiver that I miss. It's a nice little receiver, actually. So at least you got something to listen to. But you know, I think from what I've read, and I really can't wait to test it myself. Sure seems that the Texan PL680 for the price and portable receiver is one of the best out there. So really can't wait to get it. So usually it takes 2 to 3 weeks. I just hope it doesn't get stopped at the border. You know, sometimes they want to check the packages and stuff like that. Then it really increases the amount of time before you actually receive it. But I would say that in 2 weeks, about 2 weeks, 2 weeks and a half, hopefully we'll have our receivers.
He was put to death in Iran province after being found guilty of smuggling heroin into the kingdom in swallowed balloons, the Interior Ministry said. Now to end the bulletin, the headlines once again.
Start at 10 megahertz and tune up a little bit. Actually here, this is a time signal from Moscow. sending out its ID, RWM, which is a time signal. Then it's going to start the pips. The clock is actually 1 second. Now, this is the Moscow, Russia time signal, RWM.
Visibility more than 6, 5,000 scattered to 5,000 scattered. From 0400 Zulu, wind variable at 4, visibility more than 6, 4,000 scattered. Viewer, update from 2000 Zulu, wind 130 at 7, visibility more than 6.
By the way, for those that are watching live, if you want to interact with me, you can do so with the questions and answer tab on the YouTube video. When you look at the video live, you see there's a little link that you can use to write. You can also send me email at officialshortwaveradio@gmail.com. And by the way, if you want to be added to my list, because every time I do a Hangout live, I send a email to everyone through my email. So you can actually send me a little message, tell me, hey, I want to be added to your list. So just send it to officialshortwaveradio@gmail.com, and you'll be added. You can also join me on my Twitter feed, which is at Shortwave Radios with an S at the end. Think of mini radios, so at Shortwave Radios. And that is one of the many ways that you can actually join. And you can, of course, just write a comment below the video in the section, in the comment section. I see everything. I have my iPhone here that I check for email. And by the way, hey, Susan from California, welcome to the Hangout. And Susan is a regular, and she loves my videos, as she says. Thank you, Susan. That's very kind. And she's asking me what's the weather like. Actually, very, very nice. I actually took out my, I went for a bike ride today and brought along my ICOM ICR20 and did a little bit of listening to railroads, communications, and 160 megahertz range. I also tuned the air bands from 118 to 136. There's a lot of communications on the air band. There are several big airports around here, so lots of comms there. And actually, I spent about three hours and a half outdoors in the sunshine. Was about 70, 71 Fahrenheit, I would say here, which is about 20 degrees, 21 degrees Celsius. A very beautiful day today. Really looks like summer is coming. Tomorrow is also going to be another nice one. So probably going to do some outdoor stuff. That's for sure. on 10.715. It's not very strong, but I can hear the Cuban spy numbers about S7 just above my noise floor here. So 10.715 is the Cuban spy number, Spanish lady with some digital stuff. Yeah, Ray, same here. Listening online is not the same for sure. You know, I've got a nice Stangian WFR20 internet radio that I use, and I do like, you know, using it to listen to a lot of podcast stuff, like listening, maybe if I miss the BBC News Hour, stuff like that. But listening online is not the same for sure. And yeah, I started when I was about 12 or 13 years old, 12 years old when I started. And my first station that I heard, one of the first stations that I've heard back then when I actually tuned the bands that day was Call Israel, when Israel was still on the shortwave and they had a North American service back in 1982. I remember that. I remember listening to Radio Berlin International. I remember listening. I did enjoy Swiss Radio International a lot. It was one of my favorites also. Swiss Radio International was nice. Hey Ray, well, nice scanner there. That BC346 XTC trunk tracker is nice. You can follow the trunk systems. I have a scanner for that here. That is the let's see if I can find it fast. Here it goes. It's for trunk. I have a good old Radio Shack Pro 92 here, which is actually very dusty and very. I haven't used it in a little while, but this one is a trunk tracker, and I've used it a lot. And but mostly when I do VHF, UHF stuff now, most of the time I use my ICOM ICR20, and also a little bit on my 8500 here because this one goes to 2000 megahertz. So I will of course do some listening on that for sure. Hey, Ari Cat 5e, welcome to the Hangout. What did you miss? Not much. We started out slowly with the All India Radio on 11.670. That's the first thing that I was listening to a little earlier. And yeah, pirates. There's a lot of pirates, you know. If you listen regularly, pirates are pretty regular, almost every night. If you listen, usually if you listen in a week, at least every night, tune a little bit, you're almost sure to have caught at least one or two pirates. There's a lot of pirate activity, and that I find really, really interesting. I actually love listening to pirates, even though a lot of people actually say that I should not post pirate radio activity on videos, but I don't really care what they think. As Harry Cat 5e said, probably he noticed that I had a hard temper. Someone left a comment on one of my videos, and I just kind of blasted him and called him a little dumb. And so, yeah, sometimes, you know, I try to keep cool, but it does happen from time to time when somebody just, you know, messes around and thinks he knows everything. Just can't take it. I got to be careful about that. Yep. I am enjoying the good weather. I did, like I was saying, I did a few hours of bike today with my Icon ICR20. I listened to some railroad activity. I listened to some aircraft stuff. I was outside for about 3 hours and a half. It was really fun. Yeah, outdoor hangout is something that's going to happen for sure. It's just the logistics of doing it, which is a little complicated because it means that I have to bring out a computer. Um, for the internet, I'll have to use something like probably use my iPhone's internet connection, which is quite fast. So I think it should work well. But with the cell phone network, you never know. So, but there's going to be something. I'm going to try out. I'll have one of my hangouts probably live from my own balcony here. I'll be outdoors with a portable radio, and I'll be doing one of my hangouts for sure outdoor. And I'll be doing probably a hangout sometime this summer that's going to be live from Perry Island, where I go in DX with my portable receivers. And maybe do one hangout live there and one hangout live tuning the bands with, who knows, maybe the Texan PL680, stuff like that. I'll be, that's going to be fun, I think. That's really going to be fun. All right, so you come from England. So you moved in 2000. Yeah, in Europe, the radio scene is different from the one that we have in North America. That's for sure.
It's because there's a kickback to the truth of God that's being
WRMI with its usual religious mumbo jumbo stuff. 11580 from Miami. Well, Okeechobee, Florida, transmitter site. Yeah, Ray, our weather is finally is nice. We also got it quite hard. We got the coldest winter in. I remember one thing. We had the coldest February of the last 100 years, and this probably counts as one of the coldest winters in a lot of years also. So we had it really hard. You know what? Here we're all laughing at the fact that people say that there's global warming, and we're just laughing our heads out and saying, yeah, where's the global warming? I don't see it. It's actually colder. So, but yeah, no doubt about it, there is a global warming, but it's starting now to get to interesting temperatures. But man, it's been cold, it's been rainy, it's been windy, it's been everything except fun. And perfect weather for indoor radio listening, but sometimes you want to take it cool and have a little bit of fun. The Bogey 101 says pirate stations are part of listening to shortwave radio. Keep in there. Yep, it is. It is part of the fun of radio listening. I actually like radio listening a lot of pirates. It's really, really cool.
And not to truly seek righteousness, to seek.
Ajouter un nouveau logement, c'est un phénomène très populaire. Par ailleurs, c'est aussi presque une condition nécessaire pour se marier.
Ok, on s'arrête là, notre cours de chinois d'aujourd'hui. Avant de vous quitter, une petite question. Comment dire en chinois? Combien coûte le loyer?
Si vous avez la réponse, écrivez-nous à l'adresse suivante, crifra@cnd.com.cn.
Et n'oubliez pas d'aller surfer de temps en temps sur notre site internet.
This is China Radio International French in from the Kazakhstan relay. And this is for South Europe on 11660. China Radio International in French.
Cette émission, vous pouvez nous écouter tous les jours de 18h30 à 22h30 temps universel dans les bandes des 25, 30 et...
Yeah, Eric at 5E says that in Scotland doesn't receive a lot of religious stations. Yeah, because you know what? Most of these are pretty much from the United States. And so here we hear these really, really well, usually all day long. You know, when nothing else is on shortwave, or even when propagation's bad, there's always a Jesus voice somewhere on shortwave. And it's always there, and it's always strong. I guess God does help. But I'm not really a religious person, so. Yeah, Ray, I remember Radio New Zealand on 9700 kilohertz. I hear them, and actually you should hear them also around your local midnight, Ray. Check it out, 15720, usually at 03, 0400 UTC. They come in quite well. Radio New Zealand comes in really well on 15720. So if you don't have too much noise, you should get it. And actually, it's a very easy copy. I used my Texan PL600 the other day. I was tired and went to bed a little early, but I wanted to listen to something on shortwave. And actually, just with the telescopic antenna and Texan PL600 on my bedside table, I could hear Radio New Zealand really well. I heard the news. I heard all sorts of interesting programs, some news about the Pacific area and so on. It was really, really nice. And so fell asleep while listening to Radio New Zealand. Was cool. And they had pretty good signal, actually. 15720. It ends at 0500, I think. $11,700, some station there, which is, let's check this out. Apparently this is, this would be Radio Romania in English. That's interesting, Radio Romania. By the way, let's check Turkey, 9830. Yep, here they are. This is Voice of Turkey in English, 9830 to North America.
Something similar to these sad and complex experiences of Jack Bravos took place exactly 100 years later on April 25, 2015. Istanbul Peace Summit and commemoration ceremonies in Çanakkale were well organized. What's better is that from unlike the Turks, many leaders and civilians gathered to remember the memories of their ancestors, taking lessons from the pain and suffering of war, and living side by side in peace is very important. Likewise, people gathered in Istanbul and other places to remember the Armenians who lost their lives 100 years ago. Unfortunately, they did not show the same sensitivity for millions of people from other ethnic backgrounds or Muslims who lost their lives.
Yeah, Radio Australia in the morning is a regular. It's been on 9580 since for as long as I remember. I remember listening to 9580 kilohertz Radio Australia in the morning around 1200 UT, 1300 UT. When I was young on my good old DX 100, and it's still there today, still the same good signal. Programs has changed though. It's not the same Radio Australia we used to know.
Their voice to the sufferings of Armenians, but simply disregarded the pain of others, and also described the incident as genocide. Pope planned to unite the Christians with this strategy, and EU planned to legitimize to Armenian lobbies, and Russian firms over battles over Armenians in the Caucasus was named ugly. The underlying reason of these good, bad, and other attitudes is not genuine human psychology.
Yeah, Radio Caroline. Heard a lot about that. Never heard that. That was like that offshore
In the movie,
station.
individual interest during the American Civil War.
So Voice of Turkey 9830 coming in really well. Should come in quite well to pretty much everyone in Europe also.
People around the world are facing these problems, such as the humanitarian plight in Syria, while others are on a personal pursuit 100 years after Chanakkale Wars. In summary, to put it clearly, so-called Armenian genocide propaganda on every April 24 is bad. Certain countries and
Just be careful, my friend
to capitalize
Erika 5e, with the comments that you're making, because
initiated
I'm not the one to be offended, but some people are offended.
problems with
You got to be careful
and
sometimes.
the support for such initiatives is good.
This is the voice of Turkey.
Hello, Scott and 5XTC. Welcome to the Hangout. Nice to have you on, and thanks for sharing that pirate radio activity, my friend. So, Voice of Turkey 9830. Scott is in Texas. If you mean Papua New Guinea, no, I don't think I've ever heard Papua New Guinea. I remember some of the exotic stuff that I've heard was, I remember listening in the late 80s, early 90s to RFO Tahiti that I could receive in the morning. I remember they were on 71, 70 kilohertz. And then when the transmitter broke, they just left. They never fixed it because it was like they weren't, it wasn't important to be on shortwave anymore. One that I've never heard officially, and that is still on shortwave, that's for me a little exotic, is Voice of Guyana on, I think it's 3270 kilohertz or something like that, around that frequency range, 3290 kilohertz. And they are still in the air. They're being logged regularly. So, but the problem here is that 3290 is just too noisy. It's impossible for me to hear stations from on that frequency range. Wow, I don't know what somebody's doing, but my noise level just moved to S9 on 25 meters. We're gonna check something here. That's quite high. Wow. 25 meters is not fantastic right now for me. Oh, it just stopped. Some kind of electric noise motor or something. Radio Havana, Cuba, 11760 in Spanish.
Está el compañero Maduro, estamos con la causa de Venezuela, estamos acá, compañeros, todos los compañeros, en el Día del Trabajador. Es primera vez en Cuba, tercera vez en Cuba, primera vez en la Plaza de la Revolución, en un 1 de mayo. En Argentina se realizan los 1 de mayo también, en las fiestas obreras, ¿no? Pero no tan así, en las fiestas obreras, pero no tan así. Las movilizaciones somos. Obviamente estamos con el Proyecto Nacional y Popular de Cristina, estamos en la patria grande junto a ustedes, hermanos.
Authority and set it not godly.
11775 is the religious station in the Anguilla Island, the Caribbean beacon with religious programs. 11780 is Radio Nacional Amazona in Brazil, starting to come in.
Apresentação gravada musical 2015 que aconteceu em Recife. No mesmo evento, destacamos agora o som do grande Mestre Vieira, dos criadores da guitarrada paraense.
Hey, to Holland, welcome to the Hangout, Paul. Sorry if I didn't reply to by the email you sent me. I was a little busy. It's still there. I was meaning to reply to you today or tomorrow. But thanks for sending me all that information, the Nepal frequencies and stuff. By the way, I don't know if the net's still active, but 14205, 14215, there was a lot of activity of amateur radio net for emergency services in Nepal. Didn't hear nothing here the times that I tried, but hey, welcome to the Hangout, Paul, from the Netherlands. And I did try the SDR receiver though for the Nepal, and I did hear a little bit of traffic, but here direct in North America, nothing really was coming in. But I did hear on the 20 receiver, web SDR receiver, a little bit of communications in the past week. So thanks for that nice information, my friend Paul. Welcome to Net.
بما كانوا يعملون
11820, that's the broadcast for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the Holy Quran. I always pack a really good signal. I wish they would have at this time some kind of English. It would be funny if they had some English broadcast at this time with such a good signal.
أن أشكر نعمتك التي أنعمت علي وعلى والدي وأن أعمل صالحا ترضى.
Don't worry, Harikat 5e. It's just that there are a few subjects we have to be careful what we talk about because they're very sensitive. Religion, politics, stuff like that. Something that you try to avoid usually.
نتقبل عنهم أحسن ما
Radio Havana, Cuba, 11840.
Falando da conferência das partes sobre o exame do Tratado de Não Proliferação da sede da ONU, o embaixador venezuelano Rafael Cornel
As Susan in California is asking me if I'm having some beers today or something. Yep, I am. It is Friday evening, after all. So I am enjoying a little bit of beer. It's fin du monde, which means the end of the world. One of my favorite beers. So decided, yeah, I'm going to tune the bands live. Why not have a beer at the same time? I don't usually drink at home very much. I drink only for the hangouts. I find that it's kind of fun, you know, and because especially in the hangouts, I talk a lot, and you know, having something to drink helps with the vocal cords. And I thought, why not have a beer or something like that? I almost bought a bottle of wine, maybe, but decided to stick with the beer. This is again Saudi Arabia, 11915. By the way, if it's a little bit noisy, I'm sorry, but for one of the rare times since the beginning of this year, my window is open, so we're going to hear cars and planes that probably had some noise from time to time when you're listening. Welcome, Jeff. That's in Seattle, in the state of Washington, and the West Coast. Actually watching from work. He's tells me that he enjoys the videos. Thank you so much. Enjoys the channel, and he's having a little bit of time to watch the live feed of the radio, listening. And he wish he could be at home on his receiver, which is a Yaesu FRG 100, which is a nice little receiver, actually. I always wanted to own one of those, the Yaesu receiver. Hey, Alex, welcome to the Hangout. Yes, I am considering to be amateur radio operator. I will be checking out the details this summer, and will probably be joining some class or something in the fall, and hopefully by Christmas I'll have my amateur operator call letters, but I promise this year is going to be the case. Ray's enjoying a few Heineken beers. I used to drink Heineken back in a few years ago, especially at Christmas. They have these big barrels that they sell. They're kind of aluminum barrels, and they are really fantastic for parties. So at Christmas, a few years at Christmas, Easter, you know, when I had my family over for parties and stuff like that, family and friends, I had these barrels of Heineken. That was really cool because you just, you know, go and serve yourself some beer. It was really cool. But taste change, and at some point I've started drinking other types of beers and found a few other types that I enjoyed even more. But did drink some Heineken at some point. So Alex Brown, welcome to the Hangout.
Nos ha pasado apenas en 2 meses a la 4ª posición en los recientes sondeos de opinión. Desde España, María García, Martín Noticias.
Y nos vamos ahora a Alemania, donde la policía detuvo a 2 presuntos terroristas que, según los investigadores, se disponían a perpetrar un atentado durante un evento deportivo en Frankfurt. Desde Berlín, Boris Luis Santa Coloma con el reporte.
La policía alemana frustró un atentado terrorista en Frankfurt. El ministro del Interior del Estado alemán de Hesse.
Hey, cheers, a Canadian merchant. Says it's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine. Great song, by the way, by man, forget the name of the band. Band that I like a lot. By the way, I'm using a different antenna. I've changed a little bit my orientation of the wire in my backyard. Did a few changes, and it's interesting because just the fact that it changed orientation a little bit. It's also a little bit lower than the other one was. I get a little bit more noise in some frequencies where I had less, but I also have less noise on some of other frequencies where I had more. So it's kind of a weird thing. It's really complicated. You know what? I'm starting to wonder if I should not have like 3 or 4 wires in different orientation and have some kind of way to switch the wires so that, you know, if I know that, for example, I want to listen to 49-meter band, well, if I know that this wire has less noise than the others, so I can switch and so on. So that would be fun, but you know what? I'm going to have like 5 or 6 wires in my backyard, which is not necessarily a good thing. I did also spot a really, really nice tree that would give me actually a wire that would be close to 100 feet, which would be the longest wire I could probably put up here. And I really, really feel like putting up some wire on that tree. I think that would be really, really cool. So I'm gonna check that out. You know, with the summer and the really cool, warm weather, it's antenna time. Thanks, Ray, for REM. REM is the band that has this great song. I like REM a lot. Apparently, this could be it's 2247. Let me just check it out here. Apparently, what is this? 2200 hours UTC. Okay, that's what station is this? 12035. 130. This one it's not Radio Free Asia for sure, or unless it is. Oh, this could be Radio Free Asia actually, because it is transmitted from Kuwait. And actually, Kuwait would come in quite well if you notice that Saudi Arabia was quite good on 11820 here. So this would be Radio Free Asia to the Far East from the Kuwait transmitter side. Wow, cool. Yeah, Alex, that's for sure. I'll be a true and really good operator of amateur radio operator, I'm sure. And as everybody's seen on my Hangouts, I really have a lot of things to say about, pretty much nothing and everything. So that's how I am. A friend of mine that watched Hangout, one of my first Hangouts, said, "Man, you talk and you talk and you talk and you talk." And I said, "Yeah, I always, I don't seem to run out of subjects." Well, I'm happy, Ray. Ray says that my videos have inspired him to reunite with the wonderful world of shortwave, and that's why I have my channel, my videos, and my Hangouts. I really, really want to try to, bring to the light this wonderful hobby that a lot of, young people don't know it exists. And I've got a few viewers that are very young that actually bought a shortwave radio just because of my videos. And that is really, really cool. Um, I'm a fan of shortwave radio and will be probably until I die. So, yeah, Harry Cat 5E, you know what? My neighbors do think that I'm pretty weird when I go in my backyard with, like these loops of wires, and they stare at me, wondering what the hell is this guy doing, hanging wires everywhere. And so I try to, it's a little complicated. One of the neighbors here is, that asshole neighbor, that neighbor that just has to comment on everything and give you comments on everything and tell you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, and you're allowed to do this and that. And so what I do is I try to put them up when all these people are gone to work. So I'll find a time when I see that nobody's home, and I'll play around with my antennas, and I try to put up really thin wires. And unless you know where to look, I can bet you that most people don't even see the wires in my backyard, because I, really put them in a way that it's hard to see, because I don't want the neighbors to just look at that and wonder what it is. And, I don't want to have a neighbor that just doesn't know what he or she is talking about, knock on my door and say, "Oh, I've got interference on my TV, and maybe it's your wires." And try to explain to them that, no, it's for reception only. It's a little complicated. So what I do is I do it, daytime when everybody's gone, or I've actually hooked up some antennas, some wires, late at night when it's really dark, because nobody sees you. Of course, that comes with the fact I always thought that one day I would be putting up a wire for my antennas at midnight, and the police would come over and say, well, the neighbors called because they saw a burglar in the backyard. Shortwave.info, short-wave.info website is actually a nice website for schedules and everything. It's really cool. A lot of people use it. A lot of the guys that review my videos use that for their schedules and for to know what stations are on the air, on the frequencies, and so on. I think it's a nice website, actually. I review it on one of my videos many months ago. Well, there are a few, Ray. I'm 46, and because Ray says that he's 39 and doesn't know nobody of his age with that hobby. I'm 46, and I pretty much don't know a lot of people below 46 that actually do shortwave. Now, there are a few viewers, including that guy that I've been reading some of his posts, Harry Cat 5E, which is a very young shortwave listener. And so there are a few young listeners. But I think the shortwave hobby is in great part a hobby of 40 plus years of age. It's, it's like electronics, building stuff, building electronic circuits. There's not a lot of people today that, you know, do things like this, building little electronic circuits just for the fun of it. This is something I built myself, that I bought on eBay for, I don't know, $5 or something like that. And it's like an electronic dice circuit. And it's just for the fun of it, I just find electronics fascinating. And that also, below 40 years old, you don't see, I've never seen actually somebody that's younger than 40 do an electronic circuit like this, and take out the soldering iron and building some stuff. It's something that's just not done anymore.
Todavía están retenidos en Al-Shabaab, también los 232 cristianos asirios que los yihadistas tomaron prisioneros cuando atacaron las aldeas del valle del río
This
Kabul.
is WEWN, the Catholic station in the United States.
Tienen noticias concretas desde hace tiempo y los contactos iniciales para favorecer su puesta en libertad hasta el momento no han tenido.
Oh, Alex, I found a future call sign. VE2JSW is free. Aha. I like those old calls. My sister of mine that died of cancer 3 years ago, she was an amateur radio operator, which back, I think she was really active in the 80s, and she let go of her call sign in the early 90s. And her call sign was VE2 Delta Papa Oscar. And now it's gone to somebody else, but VE2 Delta Papa Oscar was at the name of Joanne, which was my sister back in the 80s, and she was really, really active from early 80s up to maybe 1992, 93. And then she stopped, and actually she moved, she stopped, never put up an antenna again, and never did amateur radio again. And she wanted, and back then the amateur license expired after, I think it was every 4 years or something like that. So at some point she let go of the amateur license. It's sad that it wasn't for life. I would what I would have done is to try to get that call sign. Maybe it would have pushed me to be an amateur radio operator. But she lost the call sign when she didn't pay the dues that she had to. Ray, yeah, you know what? I've sent, when I was a teenager, I've sent multiple reception reports and letters to HTJB. It was one of my favorite shortwave stations. I remember listening to the DX party line, that DX show, Saturday evening. Really, every Saturday evening, I was at home and I tuned my shortwave radio to listen to the DX party line. And they had a great lineup, like Música del Ecuador. They had the musical mailbag. They had another one where they kind of, I think it was a musical mailbag, where they would eat stuff, homemade stuff that they would do, like cookies and muffins and all sorts of those things, and read listeners' letters. I really, really enjoyed HTJB back then.
Y como el Señor no se deja vencer en generosidad, también bendice nuestro trabajo.
Yeah, I think 40 is kind of the lower, you know, except for really a few newbies. I think 40 is like the lower number for shortwave listeners. We're pretty much at around 40 or older.
En el aire, Radio Católica Mundial. WI.
Well, that's actually a great catch. China Radio International, direct from China. 12085. Canadian Merchant says that what got him into radio was Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell. Yeah, I remember tuning this a lot when I would DX or listen to you know, medium wave AM stations at night. And he says would wake up in the middle of the night and listen to the show, and it led to him to shortwave radio. Nice story. We all have a story of how it started. I got into radio because of my dad. My father bought a multiband radio in like 1979 or 1980. You know, one of those really cheap multiband radios. I started tuning around the different bands, and I remember stumbling across the BBC in London on a band that was called SW1, and I just wondered so much what SW meant. Took years for me to know that, oh, it meant short waves. Okay. Yeah, Ray, I actually have a lot of HTJB cards. Just to show you guys one part of my collection here. And I really get, you know, very nostalgic. But this is one of my QSL albums. And just to give you an idea, this is how it looks inside. These are QSL cards that I've received over the years. So it gives you an idea that, you know, here's one, Radio Sofia in Bulgaria, back in the days of the Soviet. Here, talking of HTJB, here there's two of them here. Here's one of the transmitter site, some of the images of the transmitter site of, and another one here with amateur radio. This, you see, 1983. That was the year of telecommunications, and HTJB had issued back then a full set of QSL cards just for telecommunications. It was really, really cool. Just loved it. Just loved it. And man, I have a lot of QSLs here. And I probably have a lot of QSLs from HTJB. I've got a lot of them from different stations, man. You know, some really cool ones like this. Good old Radio Norway International. Man, I remember Radio Norway International. Fortunately, you can't see them really well, but these are Radio Norway and so on. Man, I just love, when I look at this album, I tell you, I really get nostalgic when I see the cards, when I see, you know, and some of these cards have stories with them, because when you get these cards, sometimes there's some event. So it's really, really nice. Yeah, Ray Ecos del Torbes on 4980. That one was a strong one. It was really, really one of the strong tropical band stations. And I actually have a QSL here from Ecos del Torbes. I was also a member of the Andes DX Club, Ray. I remember that. I was a member for a few years back then. I remember having the, you know, always wanting to have that club bulletin. I believe it was every 2 months or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. Wow. Souvenirs. So let's continue tuning the bands. It's 2300 hours UTC. I'm going to try the 31 meter band. I'm going to start at 10 megahertz and go down. 9996, we still have RWM, which is the Moscow, Russia time signal station.
Put on the armor or head.
Be back in 2 minutes, guys. I'm just going to get a little refill of beer.
Shod our feet with preparation of the gospel of peace and the helmet of salvation. That's what I said. We put on our head and we take the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, and we quench all the fiery darts of the wicked that come against us, all the attacks of the enemy, and we fight for our families, for my family and for your family, that no weapon formed against you shall prosper. No weapon formed against my wife or my friend shall prosper. No weapon formed against you, all of you saints of God, and you people that are listening to the word of God. We abide, Psalm 91 says, we abide under the shadow.
I remember, Ray, when I QSL'd because the Tobis, I didn't know Spanish, and I still don't know Spanish. What I would do is I would write to them in English, and they would always answer in Spanish, but they would always answer. So, you know, I think they could understand, or they could find someone that could at least understand part of my letters.
Thank you, Lord, for divine appointment that you set before us, Lord. God, you have blessed us so awesomely, Lord. So awesomely you have blessed us. Lord, you put a roof over our head. You put shoes on our feet. You provide provision for us. You provide the opportunity to share the gospel with your people. Lord, we're so grateful for that tonight.
So this is WWCR in Nashville, Tennessee.
Lord, I just ask you to help us.
Wow, look at that buzzing here on 99, around 9965 is Radio Cairo. And look at that buzzing over it. You know what? I don't know if Radio Cairo had changed something, but I've actually been surprised at how well the modulation of Radio Cairo is in English on that 9965 frequency. And they're actually, if I'm not mistaken, going to be, let me just check this here. Yeah, they are in English right now from 23 to 030. If that buzzing could go away, it's actually one of the best modulation in years that I hear this week from Radio Cairo. I'm almost wondering if that buzzing doesn't come from their transmitter. Oh yeah, Radio for Peace International in Costa Rica. I've got 2 QSLs from them, and it's sad that they left the air. The problem with when they had like this huge storm that ripped down their antennas, they never came back. And actually, they had a lot of problems there. The Costa Rican government didn't want them on their territory, you know, because there were a bunch of activists that, and you know, countries like Costa Rica don't really like that. So they never came back. I remember they wanted to, but never did came back on shortwave. Radio for Peace International. I have a diploma, Ray. Ray says that he's got his membership, still has his membership card of Andex. I've got somewhere, I have to try to find it. On the DX party line, HCJB had a interval signal contest. They played in one show 20, well, I believe it was 20 interval signals. And they would issue a certificate to anyone that was listening and participating to that. I remember I had like 14 out of 20. Some of them were really, really tough, and I had never heard them before. But I had like 14 out of 20, and I still have that diploma. I had put it in a nice frame. So, but it's still here somewhere. I have to try and find it. It's probably in one of my boxes that, you know, when you move, you have these boxes that at some point you just leave everything in the box. It's probably in one of those boxes that I never opened after. But I still have that, a nice diploma from HCJB. Oh, that'd be nice, right? To I was gonna remember. I'm sure I'm gonna remember what it looks like when I see the picture. China Radio International from, I believe, the Kazakhstan relay. This is actually Radio Tirana, Albania, in the Albanian language to North America. Radio Tirana, Albania, 9855.
Câta persoană au capul măpșat în dezăratul, dar nu am capul de tine, giocata facendo la posto de plăcere de penale. La polizia testa ucciso da messe equipe come titoli lo studio in privati e addirittura rinnovato l'operazione che tu hai la mina perché hai sparato da nata da lunga plastica che vedo le fatiche di capsule e gas metto spazio. Presidente Serbiu declarou que está fazendo o artigo francês que foi no Ministério da Cultura. Ainda ficou essa discussão da China europeana que é para as duas tipos de serviços mediante Kosovo, por tudo que há fantastica serviço da China europeana, fica Stewart ci demonstruje, smarwishem proszkule, potem Stewart, Martenie Rendestiota, Germania nieco tejdor, Matiozo Bashmetu, Spendimi ci domina euro, Katar Nikodit. Iż procurori tribunali da Hague, soggetti l'info, possono iscure procurore in carga del fondo, per scegliere di documenta per prima che nello servizio triangolatici, metta con gli errori.
This is like China Radio International in Spanish from Kazakhstan. Radio Romania in Spanish. This is also Radio Romania in Spanish.
En el siglo pasado, nuestra familia humana atravesó tres tragedias masivas y sin precedentes. La primera, que es considerada el primer genocidio.
You know the trick, Ray? And that's what I do. You order it without saying anything. And when it arrives, well, you know, it's there. There's nothing you can do about it anymore. You just bought the radio. No, actually, I don't have much problems with that. It's not bad. No more wife, but a real radio. That could be a solution. I'm lucky. I don't have a lot of problems with that. But you know what? Also, what's cool is the fact that here we have separate budgets. I got my budget, and you know, like that, I just buy what I want, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. And so that's how you're happy. It's when you start mixing up things and the money gets together, that's when it gets complicated to buy a radio like this. Well, my noise is high, but you know what? I'm on. You know, one thing that you have to notice, I'm on the 10 dB attenuation here. So if I put it here, for example, on 9755 where there's no signal, and remove the attenuation, here on 931 meter band, I got S5 noise, which is not too bad actually. I could say that S5 of noise level is okay, you know. But if I go down to the 49 meter band, look at this, S9, that's my noise level on the 49 meter band. It's an incredible noise level there. 7 megahertz still S9, but then at 8 it starts to drop off. So it's interesting for that.
De una línea de oración, una imagen sumamente negativa, especialmente si nos referimos a lo ocurrido a mediados del siglo pasado durante la Segunda Guerra Mundial, los crímenes cometidos por la Alemania de Hitler contra los judíos y por Stalin contra su propia nación. En opinión de Konstantin Fijar, la historia debe ser el aglutinante que contribuya a la estabilidad y cooperación entre las naciones, y no un factor desestabilizador que exalte el odio y la confrontación. Cuando hablamos de la historia de los armenios, hay que tomar en consideración dos aspectos, dice Konstantin Fijar. Uno es el orden histórico, no es histórica y hace tanto no se puede hablar sobre la historia de los armenios durante la Primera Guerra Mundial. El segundo aspecto genera una disputa entre varios estados.
Jeff is asking, he says, when is it dark? No, it's not dark here yet. The sun is going to set in about 15 minutes. We're really getting these long days now. Sun is setting 8 p.m. local time here, and we are at 7:20 p.m. here, early evening. Yeah, Ray. All you need is a shed, a radio, and some wire.
والذي احتوى أهم ما توصل إليه العلم الحديث في مجال تقنية المعلومات والحقوق الإلكترونية. راح حفل الافتتاح مع الدكتور محمد حمد الروحي وزير النفط والغاز، وعلى هامش معرض كوميكس 2015 بحث مؤتمر
Great reception. This is the Sultanate of Oman in Arabic.
ووضع استراتيجيات إلكترونية للقطاعين العام والخاص، وناقش 150 مختصا في مجال الإلكترونيات.
Yeah, in the high bands, yeah, 800, 900 megahertz. I actually hear the fire department, the local transit, the buses and everything, and also the ambulance are on 861 to 867 megahertz. So I tune there sometimes. It's trunk system, so I really need to put these frequencies in my realistic or my Radio Shack Pro 92 trunk scanner. And I also tune sometimes from 900 to 930 megahertz because there's a lot of baby monitors, cordless phones, and all sorts of weird things happening there. So very often from 900, 930, I'll be, tuning around. One of the things that I haven't done in a while that I always really had fun is to, like in the winter time, just, put a jacket, put the scanner inside a jacket pocket and put my earbuds, my earphones, so people think I'm listening to music, but I'm actually scanning for baby monitors and cordless phones in the 900 megahertz range while taking a walk in the different streets around here, which is always fun.
وبهذه الاتفاقية تمكن مشغلين الاتصالات خاصة أمانة الأوريجو من استخدام هذه الشبكة، حيث أن الشركة الأمانية بنطاق العريض توفر الخدمة للمشغلين، والمشغلين بدورهم يقوموا بتوصيل هذه الخدمة إلى المنازل. وهذا النموذج حقيقة يعني يعطي فرصة أكبر للمشغلين.
This is All India Radio on 9705. This is like the local service of All India Radio, apparently in English, to Southeast Asia. It's the first time I hear them on this frequency. Propagation is good tonight. Yeah, that's a shame, the digital stuff. It's killing the hobby a little bit. I remember when scanners were so popular, man. You'd go to a Radio Shack store and they had like 10 different models there, and it was just so fantastic. And then in the 90s, the mid 90s, it started dropping off. I remember I had so much fun listening to the analog cell phones on Friday nights, Saturday nights. I would just love when I would hear cell phones, the guys would call these sex lines, and it was just a blast. I'd put my, I would like do stuff on the computer and just leave the scanner going through the different cell phone analog channels and listen to these conversations, and wow, man, First thing that I noticed is that people have boring lives, and the second was really funny is when they would call, sex lines, or they would call, like have affairs and stuff like that. Wow, that I had really, really a lot of fun listening to.
Si no se conoce lo eterno, se sume uno ciegamente en la desgracia. Si se conoce lo eterno, todo se puede comprender y abarcar. Si se puede comprender y abarcar todo.
Be patient, Ray. All India Radio, I've got a QSL from them, but I think it was probably on my 6th or 7th attempt before I got one. They seem to be really, really difficult to QSL, but I finally had one, and I was really, really happy. And I think, you know what? I think I got my QSL. I'm not sure. I don't want to say anything here. No, maybe I did send a letter, but I'm wondering if the last time I had a QSL from them, if it's not because I had sent them a email reception report instead of a letter. But maybe you should try email, Ray. Try to send them an email reception report.
Facebook como Radio Internacional Latina. En Twitter somos @CRI Español. Mensajes en directo por el correo electrónico spa@cri.com.cl. Repito, spa@cri.com.cl.
China Radio International from Kazakhstan Relay. By the way, I want to check something here. Yeah, okay. In a few minutes, we'll have Ukraine on 11,580. Very low audio, but 9575 here is Medi1 in Morocco. This is a station there at this time in Arabic, probably, but yeah, Arabic. And but they always have very weak audio. 9575. Yeah, Ray, I also have one, Ray. This is the RTL dongle. This is goes from about 25 megahertz all the way up to a gigahertz or something like that, if not more. I used it a little bit, but I should actually try it, have a little bit more fun with it. It's actually one of the cheap ones, you buy for like I think this cost $25. Not even. Hey, David in Barcelona, welcome. Back home from a quick de-expedition to a place in Barcelona which is higher than the rest of the city, allowing for great receiving conditions. Almost no QRM, that's fantastic. I've recorded almost 40 minutes of audio from a pirate radio enterprise on 6950. Came in great. Wow, great catch, my friend David. Really, really nice to have you on, and I really, really know you had a lot of fun. I love that, when I get away with my radios and have low noise and can DX some real stuff. It's really, really fun. Seems to be a mix of two signals, and I wouldn't be surprised it would be both of them. One is the CNR1 Chinese jammer, and the other one is Radio Free Asia. So that could explain why there's two signals here on 9555. Let's check 11580. Radio Ukraine International via the WRMI, Okeechobee, Florida. Nice relay of Ukraine.
This is Ukrainian radio.
In this half-hour broadcast of Radio Ukraine International, you will hear a news bulletin, a weekly press radio program World Dutch Way, and the story about the Bulgarian ethnic minority in Ukraine, presented by Sergei Nalisny.
First, the news read by Bogdan Zhuk. There is a considerable concentration of Russian and Russia-backed militant troops and equipment in eastern Ukraine. Prime Minister Arseniy Yatsenyuk said in Parliament on Friday, referring to fresh intelligence. Russian aggression against Ukraine is far from over, he stressed, adding that Russia hasn't abandoned its plans. Ukrainian positions near the villages of Shortwave and Anekdotes, near the strategic southeastern seaport Mariupol, Donetsk region, were under mortar fire on Thursday evening, according to Ukrainian police and army sources. The observers of the OSCE special monitoring mission to Ukraine have been prevented by the separatists from accessing the eastern part of Shortwave. The press service for the mission said that militants abused the presence of observers to redeploy and rotate. Such action is unacceptable interference with the mandate of the monitoring mission and represents an intolerable exploitation of its presence and role in Shortwave, Russian deputy chief said. Head of the army operations.
Scott says that he remembers those Radio Shack scanner days in the 70s and 80s. Yeah, it was just fantastic. They had so many models and so on. It took a lot of time. I remember looking at the Radio Shack catalogs back then and drooling over the radios that I would see, but I didn't have any money to buy them. And I always wanted one. And the first one I've actually bought, because I didn't have a lot of cash, I bought a 10-channel portable. And it was a very basic, you know, and it would actually be a with an LCD display, but you would not see the frequencies. You'd see only the channel, but you could still enter the frequency. And I listened a lot with that radio. And it was like from 29 megahertz all the way to 512, the UHF range. And then I replaced it with a Realistic Pro 2022, which was a really nice scanner. That went up to 800 megahertz. And you know, back then these scanners, they were so easy to modify. You had just to cut a little diode inside the circuit, and you'd have the cell band that usually was blocked. And then upgraded. Had many portables. I have a Pro 43 still here, a Pro 92. Pro 43 that I had bought for a really, really high price. Pro 43, which is right here, and actually has batteries in it, I think. So this is my old Pro 43. That's actually the Montreal police here. But this one I had for many years. This one had really nice. I did the modification for cell phones also back then on this one. I had and I still have my Realistic Pro 2006, which is a great scanner.
against it if the referendum.
But you know, when you get to radios like these, that's when you see that, well, there are great radios, but man, there's better radios. It's just
Two-thirds of respondents
fantastic.
negative attitude towards Russia and over 60% towards a Russia-led customs union. An IMF mission will arrive in Kyiv on May 29th for the first review of the Extended Fund Facility EFF program. And
Yeah, Harikat 5e says that being in his early 20s makes him feel that he's kind of late on the party when it comes to shortwave. Yeah, you know what? One thing that at least you don't miss is what radio listening on shortwave was in the 80s. If you'd known that period of time, man, that was amazing. You tune a band, and every 5 kilohertz there'd be, you know, station after station after station. And actually, back then, one of the problems was actually to listen to your favorite station because they were just so jam-packed together that sometimes it was almost impossible to hear your favorite station.
This week, international media have been widely commenting on Russian military buildup, on Nadia Savchenko's case, and about Ukraine's investment potential. Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko has repeated a pledge to put the question of NATO.
Hey Stan Hulk, welcome to the Hangout. And he says he's got, I think he had the same basic Radio Shack handheld model, cheap but effective. And for a poor kid who loved electronics and radio, it was the best in the world. Yeah, that's true. You know what? I had some really cheap radios that I just loved, and I didn't care. You know, even if somebody would have told me, "Oh, that's a bad scanner," everybody says it's not a good model. I don't give a damn. That radio was just so great because that's what I owned and that's what I loved. Oh man, Scott, if I had kept all the scanners that I bought, I would have a lot of models, a lot of handheld. I remember at some point when one of the jobs I had, I made quite a lot of money, and I would buy every new scanner that would come out. I wanted it, and so I owned a lot of scanners. If I would have kept them, I would really have a lot. I remember that what I did at some point is when I wanted a new model, I would sell the other model to make up part of the money to get the new model. So I sold a few like that, and I sold also a few to a friend of mine that didn't have any and wanted to have scanners, and he'd be the happy guy that would have scanners for cheap because I would sell him my older models when I'd buy something new. But man, I would have had a lot. Hey, YYZ Mac, good evening. Good evening to you, and nice to have you on the Hangout. The official Hangout times and days are every 2 weeks. So the next official one, the one that's coming up, by the way, for everybody that's watching, the next Hangout is this Sunday. It's going to be at 2000 hours UTC. This is the official 2 weeks Hangout. So it's coming up this Sunday at 2000 hours UTC. So check it out, Sunday, May the 3rd. And we'll be talking about radio and answering questions, and as usual. And that's the regular Hangout that we're going to have this Sunday. After that, I will not come back for a Hangout, official Hangout, until 3 weeks later, because in 2 weeks from Sunday is a Canadian holiday. And so on that weekend, on that Sunday evening, I actually have an event. So I won't be able to do the Hangout on that Sunday, May 17th. It's going to be a week after, Sunday, May 24th, I believe. And what I hope, and what I really, really, really want, is I really hope that I'll have my new Texan PL680. If I could have my new, Texan PL680 by that time, I think it's going to be really cool to show it live to you guys. Um, so the next one is really this week, and it's going to be this Sunday at 2000 hours UTC. So that's when's the next official hangout, my friend. And so everybody knows, in case you don't. So hope you make it, my friend. Really nice. Oh yeah, I remember that, Scott. The battery club, the monthly battery club at Radio Shack, and I would always go and get my battery, and yeah, it was just so funny. And yeah, actually, the real deal would be to get a 9-volt battery, because it was the most expensive battery, and at least you could do something with it. If you get just one AA or one D or one C battery, with one battery, there's nothing you could do really. Man, I remember that.
A historian from Crimea, Alexei Chirny, has been sentenced to 7 years in jail in Russia on terrorism charges, reports Radio Liberty. Russia's North Caucasus District Court on April 21st found Chirny guilty of planning several terrorist acts in Crimea's capital, Simferopol, and sentenced him to 10 days. Chirny, who made a deal with investigators, pleaded guilty. Chirny, along with Ukrainian filmmaker Oleg Sentsov and activist
Harry Cat 5, he says he finds it fun to have these hangouts on the Fridays where I tune the radio, and with the bunny on top. And yeah, it is fun. It's different from the official one where we talk a lot more. Actually, in the official hangouts, I talk more radio and don't really tune the bands much. But I like to have these where I tune the radio itself and we listen to different signals. It's always cool. So Radio Ukraine, English, 11580.
The Wall Street Journal has published article written by
It's interesting. I've got some interference that I didn't have earlier. Really interesting to see. Somebody is doing something with some electronics. Really weird buzzing. I don't know if it's some kind of electric motor from a neighbor or.
Has targeted Ukraine's industrial heartland, shutting down mines and factories. All of this is a response to the Maidan movement, because from Moscow's perspective, it is existentially vital to prove that people cannot prevail over corruption,
that's better.
Cannot determine
Noise is gone.
Future, and cannot prosper without bowing to a foreign leader. But in Kyiv, we are every day proving the Kremlin wrong. After a winter of discontent, we have emerged stronger.
Yeah, right, the Texan PL680. I bought it because of the reviews that I've seen also. I looked at a review, and I went to the eBay page. I checked out how much it would cost, and after reading the review of the Texan PL680, I thought, oh, okay, I gotta have that radio. Really, really need that radio. So hopefully, in the next hangout on May 24th, I'll have it, and we'll be able to talk about it a little bit. Hey, Petro VA2XMX. It's going really fine, and enjoyed the beautiful day we had today. I had some really nice, about 3 hours of biking and with my ICOM ICR20, and listen to some railroads activity around 160 megahertz. Also, the airband, lots of communications, 118 to 136 megahertz, and just enjoyed the sunshine. For the first time, I actually put on my shorts instead of wearing pants to go outside, and was actually able to do some biking on only with wearing a t-shirt. No, nothing else, just shorts and t-shirt. It was really nice. David says the place where he's been is very good views of the Barcelona El Prat International Airport. Airband signals using the ICOM ICR5 scanner were great as well. You know, we have a new park here in Montreal. There's a pretty big airport, which is the Pierre-Elliott Trudeau Airport. And they actually last year fixed a nice park right next to the airport where we can view the planes taking off. And one of the things I want to do this summer is bring along my ICOM scanner and my camera and do a few videos while I'm actually watching the planes arrive and go, and you know, listen to all the comms that there's going to be right there next to the airport. I think it's going to be really fun to listen to these signals there. Really, really nice to do that. So that's going to be one of my my days where I'm just going to go there and have fun watching the planes. It's always fun, you know, to watch planes, you know, land, and especially with radios. It's just so cool. You can listen to the communications.
Bulgarian is mutually intelligible with Macedonian and fairly closely related to Serbian, Croatian.
Hurricane 5 says they got a big 12-volt battery today for my radio. I shall call this Battery Day in honor of Radio Shack. Battery Day, yeah. Thanks, Scott, for sharing my Hangout live through your Twitter feed.
1400, Bulgaria was invaded by the Ottoman Empire. An economic, religious, and political suppression, both from the central and local authorities and feudal lords, forced Bulgarians to resist. One of the forms of
By the way, one of the reasons why I did it on a Friday evening to listen to the radio, because I was thinking of doing a radio listening hangout this week, and you know, I almost did it on Wednesday, but finally, you know what, I prefer to do it on Fridays, because for a lot of us, usually Saturdays are, you know, days off. So if, you know, especially because I got a lot of European viewers, at least if you guys stay up late, you know, tomorrow is not a work day for most of you, not everybody, because there's exceptions to the rule, but it's nice. Oh, thanks for the correction, David. That's possible. You know what? I might have, because there's something that I've maybe misjudged here on the list that I'm using. They have KA for Kazakhstan, and they have K, I think, for Kashi. And I think I messed up, and I saw K, and I just said Kazakhstan, but it's Kashi. So thanks for the correction. It's nice to actually have China Radio direct from their transmitter site in China.
Representing the southern part of the country.
I'll try the 19-meter band a little bit. Let's see what's on the 19-meter band, 15 megahertz. So it's WWV.
23 colors, 49 minutes. 14 universal time.
Actually got 1 second different here. This is Radio Africa, which is transmitted from the Okeechobee, Florida transmitter site from WRMI, by the way. (15230) is Radio Havana, Cuban, Spanish. Bluebirds, others. Can hear Radio Ukraine in Southwest US, but is down in static. Yeah, you're in the Southwest. You're probably a little closer also to maybe the zone where the signal kind of skips over. Oh, ZMX says, listen to the maintenance frequency at YUL sometime. See a new world. Yeah. You know, I really am looking for that trip to that park and watching the planes and, you know, being close to the airport. You can hear so many comms that you don't hear usually. So, yeah, David, as David says, the idea of doing aviation listening videos while near the airport sounds really good. And he says, actually, there are lots of aviation spotters who enjoy filming aircraft and that they take off and land, and they include the scanner's audio in the background. Yeah, I've seen a lot of those on the on YouTube, and I think it's gonna be fun adding these, you know, cool videos of the airport activity. It's gonna be fun. Hey, Ernie. Welcome, Ernie Turner, to the Hangout. Nice to be on board. VK3DET, our friend in Australia. Really nice to have you on watching as we're tuning the bands. Of course, tuning the bands from Australia and from Canada is very different, so I don't think a lot of the signals you're going to hear really, but who knows. Share us, you can share with us whatever signal you hear in your part of the world. It's always interesting. So Radio Havana, Cuba, 15230. Radio Havana, Cuba in Portuguese on 15370. Yeah, they're kind of late for you if you want to listen to the Radio Tirana, Albania, my friend Eric at 5e. But you have an airing for Europe that's earlier that you can try for that you should hear usually. I'm just going to check the schedule here for Radio Tirana. And so you can maybe try that one. Radio Tirana. So if you go to country sort, and I'm going to go to Albania. You should try 2000 hours, 2000 to 2030, Monday to Saturday on 7465, my friend in Europe. That's the European transmission of Radio Tirana in English. So try that one. It should come in quite well. 2000 to 2030. 7465 Monday to Saturday, because the other one is 0130 UT, and that's for you it's quite late. You know, here it's mid-evening, but if you can stay up, you should actually hear it, I think. Yeah, it is interesting to compare propagation. And by the way, you know what? The solar flux is really dropping this week. We're like at 100, and I'm wondering if we didn't even reach maybe below 100. I'm going to just check here with this DXQSL propagation report. We are at 100 solar flux. So we've the sun is getting a little more quiet. We're in kind of the downturn of the solar activity, and the higher frequencies don't propagate as well. This week I've tried a few times, and Radio Thailand 15590 was really not coming in very well this week. We're going to try it in 4 minutes.
In this year of consecrated life, the Vicar of Christ is coming to Washington, D.C., New York, and Philadelphia. This September on EWTN Catholic Radio, Pope Francis in America. Will you be there? To find
WEWN from the United States on 15610. Pretty much anything. The 19-meter band is pretty quiet. So I'm gonna park my radio to 15590. I'm gonna check for Radio Thailand to see if we can hear it. It's starting at 0-100, so unless it's gonna be in 3 minutes, I don't know if we're gonna hear Radio Thailand on 15590. Hopefully. And while we wait that 3 minutes, I'm just gonna take a little break, 2 seconds, to go to the wee room and to refill on beer. So here I am back, and actually, yeah, there's a small signal from Thailand that's just a carrier right now, barely above the noise level. RC8234. CRI is one powerful broadcaster, yep. And it is true, you know, on eBay, when you look at everything that you can buy off of eBay from China, it's just amazing. On the transmitters, and you can do pretty much anything you want. Yep, very weak Radio Thailand tonight. And I think that that 100 solar flux index has something to do with this signal, which is not very strong right now, 15,590. You know, I wondered if they would have kept 13,745 like they had in winter, if it would not have propagated better. It was actually stronger in the past few weeks than it is tonight. So 100 hours UTC, what do we have? We have Radio Romania, 9735.
Radio Israel.
Friends, welcome to a new program coming to you from Radio Romania International in Bucharest. I am Daniel Bill to the microphone. We invite you for the news first, followed by our regular feature. Here is the news.
9730, sorry. Wow. 9730 and 11800.
Is the best argument for preserving the Romanian identity. Angela Pilvar, the Minister Delegate for the relations with the Romanians all over the world, says,
Hey David, take care. It was nice to have you. Quite late, 0200 over there, so time to go to sleep.
Will be playing French Alizé Cornet.
And looking forward for your new PL680 and how it performs. 73, my friend from Montreal, and was really nice to have you on the Hangout. Have a good night and take care. Always a pleasure. So Radio Romania on both 11800 and 9730. Great reception in North America.
Highlighted the major role this community has in boosting the Romanian-Israeli relations and encouraged this community to keep and strengthen the relations it has with the country of origin. Romanian official has underlined the Bucharest authorities' interest in developing and diversifying the associative environment of the Romanian community in Israel. Angela Pilvar has reiterated the support offered by Romanian institutions to Romanian-born people living outside the country. Romanians' contribution to the universal cultural heritage is the best argument for preserving the Romanian identity, Pilvar went on to say. For the next 6 months, the city of Milan in Italy will be playing venue for a universal exhibition with a suggestive title, Feeding the Planet, Energy for Life. The event has brought together 145 countries, out of which 55, including Romania, have their own stand. The Romanian stand was built in the central area in the shape of a traditional household from the Danube Delta, a region that is part of the UNESCO Heritage List. Visitors are invited to discover Romania's cultural treasure, its natural food resources, and organic solutions for sustainable development.
You can also try China Radio 9570.
Valid diplomatic or civil passports will not be required to obtain a visa to enter into, exit from, transit through, or
6020 also.
take place next Thursday. Latest statistics show Chinese manufacturing business activity continued to improve.
Both these frequencies, by the way, are from the Albanian transmitter site. The one that is used or very close to the Radio Tirana Albania transmitter site.
49.9 for February.
China Radio International English.
Energy products, including a wall-mounted battery that will sold for use in consumers' homes. The company is calling the rechargeable and lithium-ion battery the power wall. The car maker hopes to park hundreds of millions of large solar panel connected batteries in homes and businesses so the world can disconnect from power plants. The system will carry a suggested price of $3,000 to $3,500.
Cat 5e, I would suggest that you tune from 6200 to 6400. Try for any Euro Pirate. That's the frequency where they're usually at.
Chinese people are passionate about, want to travel throughout this fascinating country and learn about its amazing history and culture. Heartbeat, helping you discover a true taste of China and feel the pulse of the Chinese nation.
Welcome to Heartbeat, the show that gets to the heart of China's ever-changing lifestyles while uncovering the country's rich cultural heritage. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Mandy. Coming up on today's show, China has come up with the heaviest penalties against the food security violators. An expert's view on measures taken to promote higher education equality in the country. Beijing experiments on seniors' canteen services. China and the Netherlands join hands in cultural innovation industries, and the art of root carving is being revived at the once quick-hit Yushan County in Sichuan province as part of the revitalization effort. All that along with our feature song of the day coming up very soon, so stay with us. The Standing Committee of China's National People's Congress, the country's top legislature, has adopted an amendment to the 2009 Food Safety Law, which includes the heaviest penalties yet for offenders. Yu Yang reports. The issue of food safety has long been a sensitive area for everyday Chinese people who have been shocked by a string of food safety scandals in recent years. They include injecting clenbuterol into pork, recycling cooking oil from restaurant leftovers, selling pork from sick pigs, making medicine capsules with toxic gelatin, and passing rat and fox meat off as mutton and beef. Guo is the Deputy Director with the Commission for Legislative Affairs of the NPC Standing Committee. She says the revised law gives heavy punishment to offenders, increasing the cost for
Let me welcome Mr. Sandman X. It says 9570 is S9 into Southwest Texas. Welcome to the Hangout, and we're tuning the bands.
Exist in the current law enforcement process. The entire society strongly demand harsh punishment for such illegal behaviors and increasing the cost for violations. Through the amendment, the food safety law can better crack down on such illegal behaviors.
Counted as the toughest food safety law, the amendment is considered a move toward achieving the strictest ever supervision system for food safety. The amendment also introduces administrative detention for offenders. Those who add inedible substances to food could find themselves behind bars for up to 15 days. This is widely considered tough in comparison to other punishments, such as fines and revocation of certificates. Bigger fines for offenders are also on the menu. Producers may face fines of up to 30 times the value of their products, up from 10 times under previous regulatory codes. The revamped law also adds new articles and provisions on baby formula and online shopping. Huawei says the amendment also involves the content of public supervision and it regulates the special protection of informants.
特别规定门店企业不得通过解除或者变更劳动合同等方式。
The amendment specifically protects the informants and regulates that companies should not persecute or retaliate against the informants by the means of terminating.
Let's try a little bit. I'm just gonna go and check for some pirates here. Doesn't seem to be nothing right now on the pirate activity level. Tune the 49 meter band. Very noisy here, S9. But I want to try and see what we can hear on the 49 meter band. You know what? 5850 is WRMI frequency, and at 030 they have Radio Slovakia. and I have this weird noise over it, and I'm wondering if it's not Cuba jamming 5850 actually. Ray, you can use official shortwave radio at gmail.com, and I'll receive it at that address. It's the main address that I use for pretty much everything shortwave. So just send it there. Official shortwave radio at gmail.com. Yeah, 9965. It has this weird buzzing tonight, but amazing signal. You know what? I heard Radio Cairo this week for the first time. I think it was Monday, and I made a video because I was amazed that I could actually understand what they were saying in their English language broadcast. And they seem to have a good audio. And I've also seen one comment on the, I think it was the DX Listening Digest Yahoo group that Glenn Hauser has, where somebody said that he heard Radio Cairo with much better than usual audio, and it's true, 9965. But there's some buzzing tonight that wasn't there on the other days.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to this special talk on Labor Day. On the 1st of May, the whole world is celebrating the Labor Day for honoring the national and the international labor independence. The celebration.
Eric at 5E, take care, my friend. I know it's late where you are. Have a good night, and we're not gonna continue on for much longer. I'm gonna still tune a little bit, but I think we're getting close to the end of the tuning, but we're just gonna tune a little bit more. And always fun to have you on board. Take care, my friend, and good night from Montreal.
Announcements have made to several fractures between laborers and the police. The success of the labor movement in the American in the late 19th century was the concern of the establishment of the labor syndicates all over the world, simultaneously. As for Egypt, the labor syndicates idea occurred in 1898.
So we're going to tune, I'm going to go back to the 49-meter band.
Blanketing the earth with the gospel of Jesus Christ. This is World Harvest Radio International.
WHRI in the United States on 5920. WWCR 5935 from Tennessee in the United States.
I keep saying, I want to demystify spiritual things. We get the word repentance out of the Latin Bible, Jerome's Vulgate. We carry it as a cognate over.
China Radio International in Spanish from Cuba transmitter. You always know when they're using Cuban transmitters. Their audio is always much lower on the Cuban transmitters than it is on the other ones.
It's written all over their faces.
China Radio International from the Albanian transmitter site, 6020 kilohertz.
Tastes better than what we cook at home.
and value for money, much cheaper than what we buy at the restaurant, and hygienic and safe too. The canteen belongs to a government institution. The food safety and hygiene issues have all been taken care of, and it's cheap and affordable for us. The canteen opens at 11 a.m. every day to senior citizens of the community. They can choose from a healthy menu which comprises of 6 meat, fish, and vegetable dishes served with free soup. Dessert options are also available. Li Mingcheng from the Civil Affairs Bureau of Stadium Road Community Center explains how they came up with this program.
Our community is not
Radio Marti from the United States, with their usual interference from jamming of Cuba, 6030. Ray, CFRB and CFRX. In the evening, at night, CFRB 1010 is a very, very easy catch here. Usually CFRB in Montreal on the medium wave band of 1010 is very strong. I don't know if it could be on right now. Still a little early, and I have a lot of buzzing because it's still not totally dark outside. But on a portable receiver, I get CFRB 1010 very easily at night. CFRX is a hard catch here because my noise level is so high. It rarely is stronger than the noise level, so it's a little hard to understand. And I usually will have a better reception of 1010 medium wave at night than I will of CFRX. We're actually getting close. I'm going to check it out. Radio Vanny Cuba on 6060 kilohertz.
Don't do that. Sorry. Get a report today. Visit
And this was not bad. Here's CFRX on 6070 right now.
Just listen to this satisfied customer. I'm sorry, I don't remember doing it. You heard it. It's so fast you won't even remember doing it. Get a quick quote today. Visit melody.com. Lost your job? Don't sign any agreement until you call Coin.
So this is CFRX, which is the shortwave outlet of the CFRB 1010 medium wave in Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
Consultation. Don't sign anything until you do, even if it appears to meet the company's legal obligations. Courtroom Law will review your case for free, and we don't get paid unless you get paid. Call 905 Lost Job now. Courtroom Law, Mississauga, Markham, and Toronto. Online at lostjob.ca. Safety deposit boxes and usually traded in that people need to get about.
Alex Ben Wright.
We have the expertise, and we are extremely knowledgeable about how to price these items for the client.
Ben Wright Healing on everything, one blessing to the other.
There are nights, depending on the propagation array, that I do get WINS 1010 stronger than CFRB. But usually just by, turning my portable receiver, because it's so directional with the loop, the ferret loop inside, I usually can actually make CFRB or better. But I would say 9 times out of 10 CFRB is the big signal here, much stronger than anything else.
Very hot. But when the building was the best time this year, and we got them, Finland, me, Nurse Jackie, they all kind of show fun options now on KTV. KTV, very
Great TV.
Yeah, Radio Havana Cuba has some interesting programs. Their music is good. If you like Cuban music, Radio Havana Cuba is really good with that. I get a kick out of Arnie Coro's DXers Unlimited program. That's, kind of cute. The mailbag is always fun. I don't remember. I think it's on Mondays. It's Sunday or Monday, where they have like the Arnie Caro, DXers Unlimited, and the Mailbag Show. That makes kind of a nice hour of listening to Radio Vanny Cuba. Lots of propaganda, unfortunately, but you know, it's like listening to Radio Moscow back in the 80s at some times. But hey, it's not that bad of a station. Bluebirds, others says Radio Romania booming on 9730. Yep. 9730 and 11800 here have been steady, really strong signals for their new summer schedules, my friend. $6090, which is Caribbean beacon out of the island of Anguilla. Really strong signal pretty much all night here on 6090.
Pastor Scott, Post Office Box 1, California, 90053-0001, USA. Once again, that's Pastor Scott, Post Office Box 1, Los Angeles, California, 90053-0001.
You know, one thing that we have to understand, Ray, is that the portable receivers have a very, very good capability of, you know, being very directional on medium wave. And that's something that we have to use when we want to listen to medium wave stations, because it's very, very useful bringing in stations. And even sometimes you can actually listen to two different stations on the same frequency without them pretty much interfering with each other, just because one station comes in at one angle and another station comes at another angle. So it's always cool to use these capabilities. You know what I like about Arnie Caro's DXers Unlimited? It's kind of a down-to-earth basic show where he just wants to talk about what he likes. You know, it's a bit like my Hangouts. The guy does a show about things he wants to talk about because he just loves radio, and that's it.
With the power of gamers, value since 1971. For an ounce of gold was valued at $35. Your assets are paper. You are in danger. Protect your assets with gold and silver. Visit discount gold and silver trading at dgscoins.com. That's dgscoins.com, or call 1-800-375-4188. That's 800.
WWCR in Nashville, Tennessee, USA.
Yourself and your family. American Voice Radio Network is heard on Class 97 degrees west, transponder 23, frequency 12115, audio PID 2595. AVR is heard on the left side audio channel, and AVR 2 is heard on the right side audio channel. Remember, both AVR and AVR 2 on Galaxy 19. Same network, double the choices.
6160 is the Canadian station in St. John's, Newfoundland, CKZN. Their audio is a little low, but you know, the funny thing actually is that 6160 off of Newfoundland is usually a much better signal here than CFRX in Toronto. But also there's one thing that we have to know. I know that CFRX in Toronto beams north because the idea of CFRX is to broadcast CFRB to the northern territory of Ontario, you know, like near the Hudson's Bay and so on. So that is maybe why part of the signal isn't that great here in Montreal, because it's not broadcasting towards here. But 6160 CKZN is usually a good listen here in the evening out of Newfoundland. Never heard of Vancouver station here in Montreal. Never, ever, ever, ever in all the years I've listened to. I never did. And I've tried a few times at moments where I thought that it would come in, but never did. You know what? I should try it maybe early in the morning, in the winters, you know, when before the sun rises, something like that. But I've never heard of Vancouver one. I think the best time would be in the morning, basically. If I could get up early enough, dark path from Vancouver to Montreal, that could be something, or very late at night, but never did hear anything out of Vancouver. 6180 is Radio Nacional Amazonas from Brazil. I think it's the same program as, yeah, same program as 11780. That is very good. This is Brazil. And by the way, if you like Brazilian music, 11780 is fantastic for that. They have amazing music. If you like that, it's a bit like, you know, in Cuba has fantastic Cuban music. The Brazilian one has fantastic Brazilian music. So they're really a good listen if you like that style of music. Lots of loud buzzing. I hear something on 6295 actually, very weak. You can hear the hit when I go here. There's something weak on 6295. And I'm trying to figure out what it is. 6295, according to here, what is on that frequency? I actually got nothing on 6295 here, so maybe that's some pirate, maybe a Euro pirate, but it's just so weak that I just don't hear. I don't know if any of you can tune this, but 6295, there's something there. It's very weak though. Here it's in the noise. I hear, you know, that there's something, and I can see that it's some kind of voice programming. But it's just too weak here to make out, so maybe somebody in Europe can hear. Oh yeah, Ray, I remember Radio Brass. I love that station at the evening. They were broadcasting. I remember they were broadcasting at 0200 on 11745. And they had that 1 hour English program. That was nice. I love that. Man, I miss these years with all these nice broadcasts. You know, that reminds me of another one. Transworld Radio out of Bonaire in the Netherlands Antilles on the Caribbean. Listening to sorry, I got distracted here. TWR in Bonaire, and I would go to school in the morning, and before going to school they had like a 45-minute news broadcast, and I would wake up and listen to the news out of Bonaire before going to school. That was nice. These souvenirs of old-time radio listening. Yeah, it's you know, Not a Hope is maybe not the good choice, but it's probably a very difficult one. Yeah, it's 6160. Vancouver is on. Let me just check here. Vancouver. Yeah, it is on 6160 also, right? Yeah, CKZU in Vancouver. That's also why maybe it's kind of difficult or impossible. Since I hear CKZN set in so well, it just blocks out the possibility of listening to CKZU in Vancouver on 6160. Imagine with all the technology, if we had the internet back then with all these stations, and me doing a hangout like this, when there were so many stations on shortwave. Imagine how things would have been different. Today when I tune the bands and I can see that the bands are often very quiet or almost dead. It's just surprising, and compared to back then when everything was jam-packed everywhere on the frequencies.
Zero at 4, visibility more than 6, clear. Aviation weather, Chicago O'Hare, wind.
This is New York Radio, which is the aviation weather broadcast on 6604 upper sideband out of New York.
5,000 overcast, temperature 16, dew point 4, altimeter 3008. Milwaukee, wind 150 at 7, visibility 10, ceiling 20,000 broken, 25,000 broken, temperature.
Interesting Morse code station. 6607. This is 4XZ, which is the Israel Navy station. 4XZ in Morse code 6607. This comes out of Israel. Now let's try it out just for a second here. 7295.
Join the conversation. Hello and good evening.
RTM Malaysia. No, nothing here. I hear amateur radio operators talking in AM mode.
Yes, they are.
7295.
UXC kid, I want you to 33, Jerry. Poor guy. I just don't get no respect. Just doesn't get no respect. Oh, well, okay. But yeah, that's I talked to the gentleman who passed away. He was a real nice fella. But I've talked to him several times.
Sandman Hicks says he hears the codes on 6607, but it's weak where he's located in Texas.
Yeah, they get snowed in.
7295 AMers. I actually like amateur radio AMers. There's a gang here around 7290, 7295. There's also another gang around 3875, 3885. That's also another one that I listen to sometimes. You know, it's cool because when you have a radio that doesn't have sideband, you can still listen to a few amateur stations. So we're back at Israel and 6607. I'm going to continue tuning up the band a little bit, see what we can hear.
Altimeter 1012 hectopascal.
6754 is the
Ancona Falconara.
Canadian Army. This is Trenton Military in Ontario, Canada, with the military weather for the different military bases around
Aviation weather.
Canada.
Repeating aviation weather. Zagreb, time 0030 Zulu, wind 220 at 8, visibility more than 6, light rain, no significant cloud, temperature 14, dew point 9er, altimeter 1007 hectopascal. Break. Split, time 0030 Zulu, wind 100 at 8, wind variable between 0. No.
There's some really weak voices on 6823 upper sideband. 6823 upper sideband. It's in the noise, but I can hear there's some kind of talking going on. Something that sounds like Spanish on 6900 lower sideband. These are probably like fishermen or whatever. I hear them all the time. Here we are in the 40-meter amateur band. Yeah, Ray, I've heard Shenwick also. I hear 5450. I hear the Royal Air Force out of the UK. And the 5505 also, which is from, I think it's Shannon Volmet in Ireland. I actually have a QSL from Shannon Volmet. Sugar Papa 2 station. I believe that's from Poland, if I'm not mistaken. Sugar Papa 2.
Has to be fresh in order to go
or something. I don't know what it is. Maybe the room reverberation. I know my audio is not very good right now because it's set up for contesting. This microphone's very high pitched, and I have a problem with this K3 that the mic connector on the front isn't working for some reason, and so I have another spare one that I got to bring out.
Yellow usually tends to be plus or minus within 10%. I think most of the houses I've looked up these hams cost about 100, a quarter, 150. We'll look up, you know, and I don't know why people get all upset about it. They don't, it doesn't really mean anything.
They can't get the body saved. Progress is not what the world needs today. The world today needs ministry. The world today needs for us to bear fruit of what we are. This is what you are to call you. I want you to call me brother. Now, I'm sure of that. I may not be sure of them being apostle, but
World Harvest Radio from the United States, 7315.
the most part of the vanity of men and trying to have a title stuck over you.
This is Radio Romania International in Romanian. China Radio International to Europe from Kazakhstan. Radio Mark T from the United States with the usual Cuban jamming that I hear.
What is Christ? And all the people said, now he says in John 14 and 29, I told you before it come to pass.
WHRI from United States.
Good time. Because many thousands of people will be doing it.
WBCQ 7490. I love WBCQ. There's a lot of very interesting, unusual programming out of WBCQ.
Well, I appreciate that, and you've donated in the past, and I appreciated that. But you know, I mean, it would be better for you probably to just go to Nearfest and have a good time. It's twice a year, once in October, once around the beginning of May. And I think this Nearfest.
I'm actually thinking of having maybe a 1-hour program on CQ. I'll be checking that this summer, and probably if I do it, and I really am thinking seriously about it, maybe towards the fall, September, start a 1-hour program every week on WBCQ where we're going to talk about radio. The cost of the transmitter time is very, very affordable. And I was thinking that that could be really a fun thing to do, to actually have my own, you know, it's kind of a dream, have your own shortwave broadcast. And I think everyone that listens to shortwave at some point thinks that, man, it'd be cool to have your own shortwave station. Well, that would be like the best of both worlds. Why not have my own shortwave program on WBCQ?
Friday afternoon and goes all day Saturday. It's at the Deerfield Fairgrounds in Deerfield, New Hampshire. It's a great show, and you've been listening to me for years, ladies and gentlemen. And it's a good show to pick up a nice old shortwave communication receiver or radio. People sell antique radios there. If you're a ham, they have new stuff. If you want to become a ham, they have testing. They have exhibits there. You can camp on site.
There's a lot of guys that get together, and Friday night they have kind of a party atmosphere and sing and play music and have a good time. So I mean, I've been going there since the inception. You know, Mr. Mike and his buddies are the chiefs and head of it and been doing it. And it's just a good place to get people together that are interested in all kinds of communication technology, because there is a lot of this new stuff there, and there's a lot of old stuff, and the old stuff is cool. The old stuff is cool. In fact, this week I restored a 1949 Sylvania oscilloscope. Yeah, I'm kind of a weird guy. I like to restore oscilloscopes. The old ones. I don't know why, but I restored a.
Hey guys, I'm just gonna sign off from this hangout. I just want to say bye to everybody. I'm gonna just sign off directly now. This is kind of interesting. They're talking about radio. I'm gonna let it go and just leave this on for a few more minutes. And so I want to say bye to everybody. I won't be actually talking anymore or breaking in. I'm gonna go fix myself some lunch. I'm hungry. And thank you all for being there. Remember, the next really official hangout is this Sunday, May the 3rd at 2000 hours UTC, where we'll be talking about radio and have some shortwave news and just have some fun as we do every 2 weeks. So hope to see you there this Sunday. If you want to get in touch with me, remember my email is officialshortwaveradio@gmail.com. officialshortwaveradio@gmail.com. You can join me on Twitter, which is at Shortwave Radios with an S at the end, many radios. So at Shortwave Radios. And of course, you can leave comments here on the channel. And why not join? If you're not a subscriber to my YouTube channel, official SWL channel, why not join? I've got almost 2,000 videos and lots of radio stuff. If you're a radio buff, I think it's really cool. So take care, guys. I'm going to leave you with WBCQ talking about radio. Take care, 73s. Hope you had fun tonight tuning with the bands.
Radio New York International. Big Steve was a member of the JL team, a little bit of everything extravaganza, RNI. Of course, always would be co-hosting with JL, and of course worked with us back in the ship days and in the early days when Radio New York International was on WWCR. And Big Steve Cole did his oldie show on RNI religiously, and a great show. In fact, we archive, and I usually play quite a bit of those shows because they're all on 10.5-inch reels, so they'll probably outlast us all, unlike the digital world where you never know. And Big Steve was a good man. He was a radio guy, loyal to his wife and family and friends. Good man. Radio lost a good man. And he will be missed, and it's just sad. He passed away of a long-time illness, and he will be missed. So Big Steve, I mean, I know you're up there with Mal and Jennifer and the rest of the radio folks, and it's been in some ways a rough winter. We've lost a lot of good folks. Jim Cedarstrom and Ed Bolton, who produced Amos and Andy on the station. So we lost a lot of good radio folks, but we love them all, and they're always in our hearts. And we'll miss them. We'll miss them. Okay. All right. Let me get Mr. Radio on the phone now, because I know he's going to talk a little bit about. Actually, I don't need this. I just need the phone. Am I organized? Never. All right, let's get this here. I got to dial 1. Why do I still have to dial 1? You have to do that on a cell phone. All righty. Let's get this channeled in. Okay.
Now
Norm. Yeah. All right. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, we got Norm Smith here from Bradenton, Florida. This is Alan Wiener Worldwide. It is the 17th day of April in the year of our Lord 2014. I don't think I've said that yet, Norm. So if you're listening to it on any other day, it's a repeat. Anyway, Norm, you said that you want to talk about DX. So have at it.
All right. Well, it was great that your girlfriend had asked the question about why reception changed from one time to another, because that so nicely explains a lot of the phenomenon that is around the DXing hobby,
right?
Especially with medium wave AM broadcasts from the 530 up to 1710, I think, is the top of the dial these days, and kind of a fun hobby. It's been a hobby for me all my life, and I thought we'd talk a little bit tonight about some of the various factors of it. Some of the radios, old, some not so old, and some modern radios that were probably exceptionally good for that purpose, that just performed really well. And talk about different antennas that one can use to help enhance
I'm eating.
Experience. And stations and times that you might be looking for those. So that's kind of where I wanted to go tonight.
All right, well, have at it.
All righty. You know, it's a whole lot of fun. Probably the most productive time for anybody, serious broadcast band DX person, is somewheres around sundown and somewheres around sun up. So late afternoon or very early morning. The reason being that there's a lot of stations that get into that, to bounce off the ionosphere, that are running at full power for their daytime power around those times. And so it's an opportunity to catch stations that you may very seldom ever hear in your location.
That's true. Critical hour listening, yep.
Yeah, that's an area where you can really snag some hard to get or maybe never again to get radio stations. Obviously, with the consolidation of the radio industry today, and so many stations being owned by large corporations, the identity of radio stations is a little harder to come by these days than it used to be. You can be listening to a little radio station out of whatever little small town out there on, say, 1490 on the dial, one of the frequencies is absolutely full. And they'll say, well, that's here on Q105, because they're simulcasting with an FM. And you'll have to wait a long time to hear the actual ID of the station, maybe top of the hour, bottom of the hour, if you're lucky. Which gives it even a little more challenge when you're looking for those hard-to-get radio stations to identify, well, who is that I'm hearing there? But nonetheless, it's still a lot of fun. Maybe it gives you a little more drive to try hard to find a hard-to-get one. And there's a lot of really neat ones out there. The top of the dial, particularly from 1230 on up the dial, those small frequencies where all the little local radio stations are. There's some real treasures to be heard out there. A little mom and pop station here and there still mixed in. Yeah, there's still a few of them on the air.
There still are. There are many mom and pop stations still out there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Once you get into the rural parts of the country,
you get those because the programming is different and more identified with the community where it's coming from, and so you get to hear something other than the same old stuff on the radio every day. You get down into the other frequencies below that, and you mentioned earlier the 50,000 watt clear channel stations, which there used to be many of. There's still a lot of the 50,000 watt stations, however, not too many that are actually in the clear anymore because the FCC changed the rules. And so if you're 700 miles from one of those clear channel stations, you might be able to stay on the air at night now.
Right.
Which clutters the band a little bit, but there again, sometimes gives you a treasure to look for. A good example, I live down here in West Central Florida, and WSM on 650. Of course, 50,000 watt used to be clear channel. and comes in pretty well here many nights. In fact, I listen to them a lot. But there's a small station up in North Minnesota that's also on 650. That'll actually manage to sometimes come right over the top of WSM all the way down here to Florida.
Sure, the propagation can do that.
I'm sure we can get one of those.
Yep.
Radios that are real good for the DX hobby. First, I'm going to say probably the best thing to use for for DXing the hobby is a transistor radio. And the reason I'm saying that is because if you're using a transistor radio, you can be, first of all, battery operated, which means you're not hooked onto the grid in any way, and that keeps a lot of noise and interference from getting into your receiver.
That keeps a lot of noise out.
A whole lot. In fact, if you take that same radio and plug it in, if it has the ability to use AC power, or use a wall wart if it has the plug for it, on weak stations, you'll notice the noise level will jump way up.
Oh, way up.
The
power lines have a lot of noise and interference on them.
So battery operated is a real advantage. And also, for AM, the antenna is a built-in loop type antenna, loop stick antenna, ferrite loop, which has a very directional capability, which again can really be to your advantage when trying to DX a hard-to-get station, because you can actually aim the radio, so to speak, right at the direction the signal is coming from. Or if you have an adjacent channel or a co-channel station that's creating interference problems, by using that directional antenna, a lot of times you can null out and or eliminate the interfering signal. There again, being totally portable and not hooked to the grid gives you that much more directional capability, which really drastically improves your ability to get some tough-to-get stations. Old radios that are exceptionally good. Zenith probably made some of the best, the absolute best in my mind, and you heard mine. It's the Zenith Royal 500H, which was the best one they ever made.
Right.
It was made in late 61 up into 63.
It's an expensive radio, too.
It is, but it's a real performer.
Yep.
Ultra high fidelity for a transistor radio. Real selective. It has 4 IF stages, which gives it exceptional selectivity.
No, that was the AM band's radio. That was a good radio.
It was. And that having the extra IF stages gives you the real exceptional ability to tune out or away from unwanted adjacent channel signals. So like, let's say you were going to listen to WRVA in Richmond, Virginia on 1140, and you had an 1150 station or an 1130 station closer to you. There was a pretty strong station. The Royal 500, or a radio with a real good IF section, would be able to separate the signals to the point where you could still listen to the 1140 without a lot of interference.
Well, that's the advantage of having a receiver with a loop antenna.
It was the loop antenna, but it was also the fact that it had such a good IF section to give it real sharp selectivity in addition to having sensitivity.
Yep.
Another radio that's just as sensitive as the 500H is the Royal 750, which is kind of a lunchbox size little portable. But the place that it doesn't do as well is in that selectivity department. The 500H will separate a station better than that one will. And so that's a factor to look for, depending on how hardcore you're going to be about your DX. Another radio that's really inexpensive, you can find them on eBay all the time. They're very underappreciated, is the Zenith Royal 705. And you can usually pick those up for $20 or less on eBay. And a really hot performer on DX. Really good sensitivity, really good selectivity. When they're tuned up right, they do a nice job. A little more modern radios from the 70s, Panasonic made some really good stuff in their heyday. Model RF1060 was a really good AM, FM, and it also had VHF public service band. But the AM on that radio is exceptional. Real good sensitivity, pretty darn good selectivity, and excellent audio fidelity. One of probably the better radios ever to come along from them was the RF 1170, which is kind of a large radio. Big square military looking thing, but outstanding.
You're tuned to Free Speech Radio, WBCQ, Monticello, Maine, in the United States of America.